Welcome back to the Catch Some SoulShine podcast. I'm your host, Dawn Renee Bova. Today, I am joined by Carol MacConnell. She is a fellow artist, a fine artist based out of Cincinnati, Ohio. She paints really beautiful, large paintings. And I think what's so cool about Carol is that she is 67 and she is just exploding in the art world. So please check her out. I'm excited for you to listen. But before you do, I want you to hit that like and subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube, because I have a goal of 500 subscribers by June. So I hope you help me make it. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please leave a rating because that does help the podcast get more views. Welcome, Carol, to the podcast. Carol and I are friends, actually. We are in an artist group together, and I love Carol. I love your art. I love what you're doing. You're always so positive. And I just want you to introduce yourself and what you're about, and then we will dig in.
Sure. I'm so happy to be here with you. It's like just talking with friends.
Yeah.
Um, I am Carol MacConnell. I am a contemporary artist. I paint large. I love to paint large. I've been painting large for years, but now they're super large, like 84 by 68, that kind of large. I love working with interior designers, art curators, anybody that has a huge space that they need to fill. Here I am. So I paint 6 days a week in my studio. I love to paint. Can't wait to be here. I also spend a lot of that time doing marketing on my computer, all that good stuff. Um, I've been painting for a long time. Last week I turned 67.
Woo woo.
Yay! And I'm thrilled because, there's a bad alternative. So I am very happy to be here. I feel great.
Mhm.
Life is just really good. So
Yeah. Were you classically trained in art?
I have a degree in art, but
Mhm.
I wouldn't call that classically trained because none of that really applies to what I do today. I worked in business for a long time, like the advertising side. So I did graphic design, and then I hired photographers and designers for corporations to do brochures and trade shows and packaging and all that. So I stayed on the creative side, but I wasn't really doing my own art. And I really missed that. So
Mhm.
I left the creative side and went into sales so I could make more money, have more money and time freedom. And I didn't have any more time. So I started job sharing, and I did that for a couple of years where I only worked 3 days a week. And on Wednesday, my partner and I both shared the day, and she worked 3 days a week. So, and the other 2 days, I got a studio and started creating again. So, I've been painting full time for over 20 years now. And I started out as a realist and pretty much copying photos and that kind of thing. And, learning what paint does and learning how to attack a surface and make a painting out of it. And over the years, I've evolved. My girlfriend says I reinvent myself all the time, which I think I do. I
I
can't wait
think,
to.
yeah, we all do, right? I mean, that is the beauty of life. It's a journey, and we're just all on this magnificent journey together, exploring, learning, doing things that light us up. And
Right.
I think it's interesting that you said you went from the realistic to the abstract. And I paint too, and I
Yes.
love abstract. It's so freeing, but
Yes.
yet you can get in your head about it because it's like,
You think?
wait a minute, that doesn't look right. I got to change that. I got to change that. But yeah, there's a lot more to it than people realize. But what has art helped you through in some of your life experiences?
Well, let's see. I just love to paint. The first thing I say to my husband every weekend is, I can't wait for Monday because I can't wait to be in here again. Um, it just, I am one that I'm an extroverted introvert. I can't wait to go to parties, and when I get there, I can't wait to leave. But sometimes when I'm in a group and they're all talking away, I can be in my head and think about my painting. I can think about art, and it's like I'm having my own party in my head half the
Mhm,
time. But
mhm.
it has really saved me from some social situations that I'm not as comfortable. I love going, can't wait to leave. I also have two cochlear implants. So although painting doesn't really, I haven't noted, I've only had them probably 6 or so years. I haven't noticed it sharpening my other senses as much because I didn't get them as like a kid or something. But it's very isolating. And when I paint, I don't feel alone because I'm here creating. So
Yeah,
it,
that's so true. It's like you get into that energetic flow state,
oh
and
yeah,
2 hours seems like a minute, you know?
right.
You look at your watch and it's like, "Whoa, where did the
Yes,
time go?" And that is so true. I think that's so important what you said right there, because although you're a fine artist and this is your career path, I have a lot of people that paint for pleasure, just for themselves. And, there's a lot of, we have so much social media, and
hmm,
it people think that it connects you, but in actuality, it causes this big disconnect, and people are lonely and isolated. And then with COVID, you know,
right.
gatherings weren't as frequent. So I really revved up my painting, during COVID, or actually, yeah, it was right during COVID. And it's true, you're never alone,
Right. You
even
don't
when
feel
you are.
alone. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're just enjoying that place that you're at. So you said you're 67 now. Bravo. I just
Thank you.
joined the 60s club, so that's pretty
Well,
cool.
hmm,
Um, but I think it's really cool that you are still pursuing your dreams and your passions at 67. And I was just listening to Abraham Hicks today. I listened to her on the way to work, and she was talking about how, guess what? We're never, we're always going to be looking for the next thing. And she said, and
right.
that's not a bad thing.
No.
Um, it's just how you look for it, right? If you can be completely happy and peace and joyful in the state that you're at, but yet seeking or yearning or planning or living something bigger, it just brings you happiness. Because I thought about that, and I thought, somebody said, just name an outrageous price that you want to be making, right? And put that in your head. And I came up with this outrageous, number. And I'm like, okay, that's what I'm going to manifest. And then they said, okay, so when you get there, what do you think is how you going to be? And I'm like, I don't know. I think I'll probably want to keep going,
Right. Right.
you know?
We both picked a career that you don't retire from. I mean, I can't imagine not painting to. Yeah, I do know a few people that have retired from art, but not very many. Most
Yeah.
people I know continue to paint for years. I have businesses I still want to start. I have ideas, one on top of another. I got a lot of living to do. I'm still.
Exactly. Yes. I love that. Um, so I want you to share with people how, I mean, you've been a successful artist your whole life, but recently things are expanding for you.
Yes.
And I just think that's important because, you have that dream, you manifest it, and you don't give up, and
Mhm.
then it starts to come to you. You want
Right.
to talk about what that's like for you?
Well, I feel like I haven't painted my best painting yet. So I'm still digging away to hit on that canvas that I just think is so remarkable. And I just keep learning to paint. I'm always looking for new avenues of ways to sell paintings. I'm open once a month in my studio, and there is we get 600 to 800 people on a Friday night, which is great, but that's not gonna pay the mortgage. It might pay, the studio rent, but you still have to do more marketing to that. I do a lot of social media. I have a list of interior designers that I mail to. I recently um, made a list of art curators and contacted them because the size I'm working, I need hospitals, banks, hotels, those kinds of places. So
Yeah.
I'm cultivating relationships with those people. It's just, there's always something more that you can do. It's just,
Right.
it's just remarkable.
And I've heard people talk about that, especially on social media. It's like, oh, being an artist, you don't just get to paint all the time. There's so many other things to do. But
Right.
something that you said that really struck me is the fact that you're cultivating relationships.
Mhm.
And for me, that's fun too.
Yeah,
I
it
love
is.
talking to people. Like, I'm doing this little ripple experiment, and I have artists in the club, and I ripple out art all over. So Barry and I were at his conference this past week, and we're rippling art, and I met so many cool people. It just opens up the doorway to create conversation and have a moment of intimacy with another person.
Right.
It's
You
just
are
so
so
cool.
good at that too. And I love that you've made ripple a verb. We're rippling art here. I just love that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that is wonderful. And it's so giving of you because I know that the program is, it's not designed to be the moneymaker end all kind of thing. It's a gift of love that you're doing. And it's just really wonderful that
Yeah.
you've figured out how to do that.
Yeah. And um it's odd because there were attorneys, judges, and I would say some of them were very appreciative. And then I also rippled to like a bellman that was on the elevator, and he was like it touched him
Oh,
in a way that it touched me because
yeah.
when you feel that energy with someone, it's it's worth it.
How
And
do you start those conversations that they come up all the time? How do you do
I
that, girl?
I don't I just like talking to people. Obviously, this is a great gig for me because I love talking to people. I like getting to know people, inside things that you don't normally talk about, and form connections and form relationships. And
Right.
I don't know. I think it stems from the fact that I really do believe that what people think of me is none of my business,
Right.
and this was taught to me. And furthermore, it's seldom. It's my ego that's saying, "Oh, they're not going to like me or they're going to think I'm weird." That's ego.
Yeah, that
So,
is.
if I let that go and really dive into the fact that, hey, if you don't like it, I don't care. I am
Right.
me. And that just kind of loosens up the cords that bind me to people's opinions or judgments or anything like that, and I'm happy. So, yeah.
Yeah. I just don't know how you're talking to a judge and you say, hey, I've got this ripple experiment I'm doing. Is that how you do it? I mean, you're just,
Well, I just have a conversation, see somebody on the, hey, how you doing? Good. I said, I am doing an experiment, and do you like art? And they'll say yes. Usually, almost everybody likes art. And
mm-hmm.
I'd say, well, I have a gift for you, and I'd really like you to open it and see what you think. And
Oh, so you have them with you.
oh yeah,
Oh, I
oh
thought it
yeah.
was all through the mail.
No, no, I took some to Florida when I went to Sarasota. I rippled out all over Sarasota. And it is a real conversation starter because I don't know these people. And then you give them a gift. I'll tell you, and they fill out the response form. So, one of the most touching responses that I received is, um, and I don't really even know who it was, but she said, imagine I'm sitting by myself and I'm newly sober and I just was having such a difficult day
Mhm.
and thinking about drinking. And a complete stranger walks up to me and gives me this beautiful piece of art. And she said, I think I'm going to make it yet another day.
Oh, that is wonderful. That
Right?
is wonderful. Hmm.
I mean, I do really believe, Carol, that we are change makers.
Hmm.
We are, art is just such a touching, emotional, energetic exchange between people that you don't even have to say any words.
You're right. You're right. That is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I saw you went to a painting class in Sarasota, and I wanted to point that out to people because I'm still taking
Yeah.
classes. I'm still learning.
I
And
am
I
too.
thought, how cool that she went to, because I actually looked at that class because, I live
Oh,
in Sarasota.
yeah. Yeah, I know
So
you do.
what was that
Um,
experience like?
oh, it was so fabulous. It was with Kat Tesla. And yes, that's her real name. And she is actually in Northport, Florida.
Mhm, mhm.
And it was 5 days of painting from 9 to 5. And I painted 7 canvases, basically from 36 to 60 to 60 by 60. So that is a lot of on your feet,
Yeah.
constantly painting. It was the most magical thing. She's a wonderful teacher. She actually teaches. A lot of people just will demo and then you paint, but she
Mhm.
actually can teach, which is just amazing. And I loved it so much that the day after Easter, I go back down there for another week for a different class. So I just can't wait. I come back so motivated and I can't wait to paint. Well, that's every day, but it really changed. It was a game changer for me in the way I paint.
Yeah.
So I've quit some other things. She said to me that when you paint a lot of different styles and you don't just hone in on one, you're really sampling. And that went ding, 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 ding in my head.
Mm.
And I thought, that is interesting. So I
Yeah.
was doing some other types of paintings and I'm selling them off and I'm not doing those anymore. And so I'm really I am a contemporary abstract painter, and that's where I want to focus. So you can't serve more than one master and become a master at it. So I really want to focus all my energy there, and she is just great at doing that. And she is. Oh, I think she's 60 something. I don't know,
Mhm,
60, who knows, but
mhm.
she is still doing outdoor fairs, and she just her whole life is creating art and selling it, and she does a very good job at it, and she has a brand. I'm kind of still, I haven't I can't say that my abstracts, that when you see one, you know immediately it's me. And with her, she can do that. But I'm still getting there. I'm still.
Yeah, I recognize your art. I do.
Oh, thank
Yeah,
you. That means a lot to me.
I can tell it's Carol. It's just soft and flowy and wispy. It has a real soothing, energetic feel to me.
I love that. Thank you. Thank
Mm-hmm.
you. I
Mm-hmm.
love when people put it in words because I think I hate to write. So when people give me adjectives to use, I just love that. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you tell me about the hearing loss and how that has affected you personally?
Yeah, that's been no fun. But I mean, if you had to pick something,
Mm-hmm.
I can see, it's just it's very isolating. In my 50s, my hearing started going away in big chunks. I could hear it going away, if that's not crazy. I could hear like crunching sounds in my ear, and I'd look at my husband and I'd say, I think I'm losing more hearing. And I was, I studied hearing aids forever because there's quite, there's it's hard to compare them, and it's hard to find what works, and they really amplify, they don't clarify. So it gets to a point where you can't wear them anymore. And I remember a nurse at the University of Cincinnati Hospital, well, she probably wasn't a nurse, audiologist probably, and she said, you're the perfect candidate for cochlear implants. And I burst into tears because I've worked so hard to try to hear, and
Mm-hmm.
to be told that everything I had done isn't enough, and I
Mm-hmm.
needed to have surgery. But really, it's the best thing. When I take them out, I'm virtually deaf. So
Mm-hmm.
my husband, when I say, okay, taking out my ears, and and if he wants to tell me something, he has to text me because I cannot hear him right next to me. So
Yeah.
it's very isolating. It's very tiring. Like when I'm at a table with a group of people, I work 5 times harder to hear. I'm trying, concentrating, reading lips, trying to understand the conversation. And I miss a lot of it. And I say a lot of funny things because I'm like, okay, I heard you say the monkey has big ears. And, they said something totally different. And,
Mhm.
I can't pick it up. So
Uh,
so it's very doable. I was at a speech recently, and this is funny. My girlfriend was giving a speech, and I could tell the furnace was on. And the minute the blower went off at the furnace, I could hear. And I'm sure nobody else in the room knew the furnace was blowing. It's
mhm.
just my world of
Yeah.
not being able to hear. But
Well, ironically, and maybe that's why I enunciate my words so much, because
yeah.
my youngest brother, we don't know if he was born with deafness
Hmm.
or it developed like when he was really young with a high fever.
Right.
But he's completely deaf in one ear, and he
Hmm.
has about 70-80% deafness in the other. And it's nerve damage because I think he had looked into the cochlear implant and
Hmm.
he's not a candidate.
Right.
As of,
I'm very lucky that I was a candidate because not everybody is. And
yeah.
so,
So I can remember I can remember when he was little and my sister and I were a little bit older, and he'd turn around and we'd go, "Let's go get some ice cream." And he couldn't hear us. And then we would tease him and look at him and go, and he would eat our lips. Ice cream.
yeah.
But, I think it's important to, when we have these challenges, um, not make light of them, but learn to live with them and learn
Right.
to
Hmm.
be happy. And I think
Yeah.
for you, art is a saving grace. Now, my brother, he is in construction and he
Mm.
works with his hands, and carpentry, and he's a perfectionist. His stuff is beautiful. Like, he'll miter corners and they're perfect. And I'm like,
Right.
I just think that instills a sense of pride, and it's really important. And I think really it's that being deaf, in a certain way, I guess you could look at it as somewhat of a blessing,
Right.
because it forces you, like you said, my senses aren't different, but maybe it just forces you to really get into that zone and
Right.
that flow more so than somebody else would.
That's a good point. I'm very grateful for my cochlear implants. I bless them all the time because,
Uh-huh.
without them, I wouldn't be able to hear. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Carol, it is lovely to talk to you as always, and I hope we can get together in real life again
I know.
sometime. Carol and I were actually at a retreat together, which was phenomenal.
It was.
So, where can people reach you to see some of your art, find you? I know you have the studio in Cincinnati that's open, which someday I plan to get to.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Will you share that with the listeners?
Sure. My name has a lot of consonants, and an A is the A everybody forgets. So on Instagram, I'm Carol Paints _ because McConnell's too hard to spell. But I am Carol MacConnell on Facebook and on my website. But if you go to Instagram, Carol Paints _ you can get to all those other places from there. So
Yeah. And McConnell has an A.
it's Mac, not Mick.
Mac.
And
Right.
everybody forgets the A. It's not
Yeah.
the double N's, the double L's. No,
No.
it's the A.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope you go check out her work, because it really is an experience, and it is really freeing, and it's such a healing modality that I think everyone should be pursuing some type of creativity. And that is it for today. Thanks again for another episode of Catch Some SoulShine. My guest, Carol, today is a phenomenal person and artist. Again, please go check out her site. I will have the links down in the bio so that you can just click and get to her website to see some of her beautiful art. I know we talked a little bit about the ripple experiment. If that's something that you may be interested in, I will have a link to the ripple experiment in the bio as well. If you're an artist, a creative, or someone who just wants to spread joy, love, and positivity out into this world, this might be the club for you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you're watching on Apple or Spotify or any other podcast platform, please give this podcast a rating and leave me a comment. I'll see you next week.